Hello everyone. Today we're going to have a look at logic functions using the Gekko Logistics case study. First of all, let's have a look at the logic functions we will cover. We will look at the if function, the and function, and the or functions. When we use logic functions, we need to use logic tests. A logic test uses one of these logic operators: equal, greater than equal, less than equal, greater than, less than, and different to. We use logic tests to compare two values. For example, let's say we wanted to see whether the item name is product E. We would start with equal, say C3 is equal to product E. As we can see, the value of C3 is product E, and so the result of this logic test would give us true. If we were to modify this test and maybe compare, is the value in C3 equal to product B? Since that is not the case, the result of this test would give us false. Logic tests always give us either true or false. Let's have a look how to use these logic tests inside the if function. We use the if function to tell Excel, perform a logic test, and if the result of that logic test is true, perform one action, otherwise perform another. This is how the syntax is used. We have our logic test first, then we tell Excel, if that test is true, do this, and if it's false, do that. Let's try an example here. We could say if C3 is equal to product E, in that case, let's display the word OK. Otherwise, if that's not the case, let's display the word not OK. This is how we'd write it in a cell. Since C3 is product E, the part where it says OK will be the result. If we were to change this, let's say is C3 is it equal to product B, we've told Excel if the result is false, display not OK. Our logic test need not be limited to just one test. We can have multiple tests. Let's say we want to check if the name of the item is product E and the weight is greater than 30, then display OK, otherwise display not OK. We would maintain the structure of the if function as it was, where we would have our logic test over here, value of true, and then value of false. Since we are performing two logic tests, one to check if the item is product E and the other to check if the weight is greater than 30, we would use the AND function. The AND function would be used as the logic test. Our first logic test would be C3 is equal to product E. No, let's get that right. And our second logic test would check that the weight is greater than 30. So we'd say D3 is greater than 30. The AND function will give us true only if both, or rather if all the logic tests inside the AND function give us true. We can see that it is the case, C3 is E, and D3 is greater than 30. And so we'll say if the result of that test is true, we want to display OK. And if the result of that test is false, we will display not OK. Let's see how this looks like in the cell. We'd say if and C3 is equal to product E, semicolon, D3 is greater than 30, close up parentheses for the AND function, and then we'll say display OK if that is the case, and not OK if it's not the case. And we can see the result is OK. Let's change this up. Let's make product over here. Let's make it product B. We now get not OK. This is because the first test gives us false. The second test gives it true. In an AND function, you could have 20 tests that give you true. As long as there's one test that gives you false, the result of AND will be false. And so we would get not OK. Similarly, we could do a test to check if either the name of the product is product E or the weight is greater than 30, we want to display OK, otherwise not OK. The syntax remains the same, except we use the OR function. Since in this formula, the OR function, made a mistake, there we go. The OR function will check all the tests. There could be 30 false. The second there is one true, the result of OR gives us true. C3 is not equal to product E. This would give us false. D3 is greater than 30. This would give us true. And so the result of this function would be true, and so we get OK. Missing parentheses, made a mistake. Parentheses to close the OR function, and we get OK. Let's have a look how to use these logic functions to solve this case study. Our first question says if the delivery zone is east, the distribution center is center 1, otherwise the distribution center is center 2. So here we have a simple if function. I'm going to say if, and our logic test is to check the delivery zone. We're going to say if the value of this cell is equal to east, in that case we want to display the word center 1. Otherwise, if it's not, we want to display center 2. Next, if the delivery zone is north or south, the service is camel cargo, otherwise the service is turtle transport. In this case, we need to check the delivery zone. And if it's either north or south, we want to display camel cargo. Otherwise, we want to display turtle transport. We need to use the OR function. In the if, our logic test will be our OR function. We're going to say OR delivery zone is equal to north. That's one test. And the second test is the delivery zone in E3 is equal to south. If either of these logic tests give us true, we want to display the word or the words camel cargo. Otherwise, we will display turtle transport. In this question, we want to check if the weight is greater than 60. If that is the case, we will display freight as 12 euros. If it's not greater than 60, we now need to check if it's between 30 and 60. That is to say, both greater than equal to 30 and less than equal to 60. If that is the case, then the freight will be 9 euros, and if it's not the case, we will display 5. If it's not the case, meaning that it's less than 30. In a question like this, we would be putting one if inside the other. Let me demonstrate. Our first test is going to check that the weight is greater than 60. If that is the case, we will display 12. If it's not the case, we're going to have to do another test with the if function. And this test needs to meet two conditions: that the weight is greater than equal to 30 and less than equal to 60. Because we're doing two tests simultaneously, where both tests need to be satisfied, we will use the AND function. We will say AND weight is greater than equal to 30. Weight is less than equal to 60. These are our two tests in the AND function. Both of these need to be met for the AND function to give us true. And if it is true, the weight is 9 euros. And if it's not true, then the freight will be 5. We'll close one parenthesis for our second if function and a second parenthesis for our first if function. Note the colors of the parentheses to guide you as to which function you're opening and closing. Our final question is going to check if the item shipped is either product A or product B. If it's one of these two, and that the freight is 12 euros, then the priority is high. Otherwise, we will set the priority as nothing. So in this question, we're going to have an OR function to check that the name of the product is A or B, combined with an AND function to check that the freight is 12 euros. So several things need to be met. Either the product is A or B, and that the freight is 12. When writing complex if functions, it's advisable to first develop your logic tests. So there are two conditions to be met, and the product is A or B, and that the freight is 12. So we'll start with AND. Inside the AND function, the two tests we have are, first of all, is the product A or B? So we will use the OR function here and say OR the product is product A, or the product is product B. Close one parenthesis for the OR function, and now we will write the second test, which is that the freight is 12, meaning freight in H3 is equal to 12. All this is our logic test for our if function. Let's do a quick check before continuing. Here we can see that the product is not A or B, and the freight is not 12, and so the result of this would give us false. Let's copy it down to do a quick check and verify here where we have true. we can see that the product is A or B, in this case it's A, and the freight is 12, in which case we get true. I'll do Control Z to go back a bit to come back to our initial formula. Now that we have a logic test that works, we'll put our if function in the beginning, open our parentheses for if. We'll leave our logic test the way it is, and at the end we'll say value if true. If the result of this formula gave us true, we want to display high. Otherwise, we don't want to display anything. So in value if false, we just put 2 double quotes and close the parentheses. You will note that only when product is A or B and freight is 12 do we get high. Here is product B, freight is 12, we get high. Here is product B, freight is 12, we get high, and so on. Finally, to come back to question 2, if the item shipped is product E and the delivery zone is north, we want to highlight the row of data in yellow. To do this, we will use conditional formatting. First, let's select the entire range of data. I'm going to click here in B2, which is the top left cell in our selection. Do Control A to select everything. Control backspace to come back to the top. There are a few things we need to note. The first one is the first row in our selection, which is row 2. Let's keep that in mind. The second thing we want to check is the name of the product. Names of product are in column C, and only in column C. Finally, the delivery zone needs to be north. Delivery zones are in column E and only in column E. To apply conditional formatting using a formula, we'll click on conditional formatting, go to new rule, and in the new window that opens, we will select use a formula to determine which cells to format. If you are using Mac, you will see a window similar to this, where you have 2 color scale. You need to click on that menu, and here you see 2 color scale, 3 color scale, data bar, icon sets. On a Mac, you'll have one more option that says classic. Click on classic, and you will have a new drop-down menu that appears below the classic that will show you these items. In that menu, select the last one, use a formula to determine which cells to format. In here, in this box, we will put a formula which has to be a logic test. Logic tests give us true or false, and Excel will only format the cells where the formula is true. Note that the formula we write will be applied to the top left cell in our selection, meaning B2. And then the formula will be copied across and down. This is why the use of $signs to block columns or rows is necessary. We have 2 conditions. The item shipped needs to be product E, and the delivery zone needs to be north. And so we will use the AND function. In our AND function, we need to check wherever the formula is applied, we will always look in column C, and we will start with row 2, meaning C2. Since items are only in C, we will block that reference with a $sign and say $C2 is equal to product E. Our second test is to check the values in column E. So again, $E and 2 for the row, for the first row in our selection, is equal to north. We have a logic test here where only if the values in column C our product E and the values in column E are north, will the result of the AND function give us true? And so Excel will format that cell. We will apply formatting by putting a yellow fill. Click OK and OK again. You will note that the only instances when the rows are in yellow are where both the product is E and the delivery zone is north.